Hello world, Krista here from Books and Jams, and today I'm going to do a much anticipated book tag that I have seen all over BookTube in the last few months, I guess, and that is the Try a Chapter book tag. So I have 5 books here that I had a friend pick out for me. I have shelves of unread books, TBR books, and I sent her some pictures and she picked out these 5 books for me to read. So let me first go through the 5 books that I'm going to read the first chapter of, and I'll give you a brief summary of what they're about as far as I know. So the first is pretty popular on BookTube, and that is The Night Circus. I have this lovely copy by Erin Morgenstern, and I'm very excited about this one. I actually feel like fall might be the perfect time to read this. All that I know about it, I believe it's a traveling circus, and there are 2 magicians who are kind of rivals and competitive against each other. So I don't know much more than that, but I know that so many people have read it and loved it, so I'm excited to give this one a try. The next book that my friend chose for me is called Lost by Gregory Maguire. I believe this one is a bit of a Christmas Carol retelling by Charles Dickens. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens retelling? I don't know how to say that. But I don't know much more than that. I think it will have some ghosts in it, and sounds like it might be interesting. The third book that I'm going to be trying the first chapter of today is a Les Mis retelling, and that is Junebug by Fabry. I don't really know anything more about it. I don't know where the setting is or anything. I just know, based on this little quote, that it is a Les Miserables retelling. So I'm looking forward to that one because I love Les Mis. The fourth book I'm going to be reading the first chapter of is called Love, Anthony by Genova, and this is a contemporary fiction about a mother who has an autistic child, and I believe that child dies according to the back, but then she meets other families who have autistic children and something along those lines. So I'm looking forward to this one as well. And the fifth book is very different from the others, and it's Ready Player One, and this is about a virtual world type video game where this billionaire leaves kind of a scavenger hunt to find, he dies, in his will he leaves treasures hidden throughout the game, and whoever solves the mystery receives his inheritance, the extent of his massive inheritance. So I heard this has a lot of 80s references, and I know a number of people really enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to this one as well. So these are the 5 books, and I'm going to get right in to reading the first chapters, and I'll stop along the way and tell you what I think about them and how they're starting out, and then at the end of the video I will let you know which one I'll be reading next. Alright, here I go! Sorry for the different shirt already at the beginning of this video, but I just realized as I was editing that the whole segment about Junebug did not record. So I just wanted to tell you real quick about this first chapter because I really enjoyed it. This book is written from the perspective of a 9-year-old girl who lives in an RV with her father, and they are currently living in the parking lot of a Walmart where they've been for 3 weeks. And you don't know any backstory or why they're doing that, or yeah, we're just getting into the story. So we meet her when she is staring at the missing children posters in Walmart and realizes that she sees herself. So in one of the pictures, she sees a little girl who looks just like her and starts to have questions, and why is her picture on the wall? I don't really know much more about it than that. We know that the people in Walmart, the manager, is starting to get annoyed that they are still in the parking lot, but they don't take it out on the little girl. There's a couple workers that are really nice to her, but we don't really understand what's going on. But I did really like this. I like books that are written from a children's perspective because we don't really get the full story, because we're seeing the world kind of through a child's eyes. So I am very intrigued by this one and am very excited to continue reading it. Next I'm gonna tell you about the first chapter that I read from Love, Anthony. Alright, well I just finished the prologue and first chapter of Love, Anthony, and I was a little bit confused. The prologue starts on the beach in Nantucket, and a mother and her 3 daughters is there, and she sees another mother there with her autistic son. And it's just a brief little picture of their time on the beach. Nothing really happens. Then we start the first chapter, and It's a different person. We're not sure if it's either of those women that was on the beach, but it's another woman, and her husband is upstairs sleeping. He came home late from work, and it's storming like crazy outside. And she goes out to her mailbox, which is down the road a little bit. She goes out to her mailbox, brings the mail back, is drenched from this storm, which seems to be a precursor of events, because as she looks at her mail, she gets a brief letter from a woman who says that she's sleeping with her husband. No signature or anything. And I don't think that's a spoiler because it does happen in the first chapter. But there's nothing about an autistic boy, so I think we're just setting up for the rest of the story. But yeah, it was interesting. I'm intrigued to know what's going to happen. But the prologue didn't match with the first chapter at all, so I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out. I think so far though, I'm a little bit more curious about Junebug than this one, but I definitely would like to read both of them. So we'll continue on and see. I'm next going to read Lost, the first chapter of Lost. The first chapter that I read is from Lost by Gregory Maguire, and this one was definitely the third on the list. It's not moving up to the first or second place, excuse me. I had a hard time getting through these 35 pages because I don't really know where the story is going. It did leave me intrigued. It's about this woman named Winnie Rudge, who is a writer. The three sort of mini scenarios that happen, or four, as the first chapter goes on, don't seem to really connect in any way, so I can't really tell what's going to happen. I did like that there are a lot of literary references so far, and I did like that she keeps referring to A Christmas Carol. So I don't think it's a retelling, but I think that A Christmas Carol is going to play a part. It might turn into a retelling, but a very obvious and open one, because it does keep talking about A Christmas Carol and Marley and Scrooge, and she does twice feel a presence in her home. So this might be a perfect book for the fall. It does seem to potentially have some ghosts in it, but it was a little bit slow and did not hold my attention enough to move this up to the top of the list. But it also wasn't horrible enough for me to DNF it. So I would like to finish it potentially in October or November. It seems like a great fall book. So that is it for the third one. And now I'm going to move on and read the first chapter of The Night Circus. This one was by far the shortest of the four so far, and The Night Circus is the one that I just read. And I read the prologue, which they call the Anticipation, which just kind of sets the scene of the Night Circus and explains how it is a traveling circus that shows up in a town in the evening. It just shows up and people spread word from town to town nearby, and they all show up to come to the Night Circus. Then we get into the first chapter, which is only 2.5 pages long, very short, and I am very excited to see what comes next. So in this first chapter, Prospero the Enchanter is one of the magicians that we meet, and he receives a package in the form of a little girl, and apparently this is his daughter that he didn't know anything about. So he reads the note and starts kind of saying that he's not very thrilled, expresses that he's not very thrilled about having this little girl now to take care of. And a teacup on the desk breaks apart and the tea goes all over, and then it comes back up into the cup and the cup gets put together again. So he knows that he didn't do that, so he's assuming that the little girl did, and he said, oh, this might be very interesting. And then we move to the last paragraph, in which he writes a letter to somebody, we don't know who, and he says that she's ready. We don't know what she's ready for. We don't know who the letter is to, but I am very excited to find out about those things. And I do feel like, again, this is a great book for fall. So I think this is moving up to the top of the list so far, but I do have one last first chapter to read, and that is Ready Player One. So I'll be back in a moment. All right, I just finished the first chapter of Ready Player One and the prologue. Again, this one was quite long. The first chapter is 26 pages, but the prologue is another 10 on top of that. And it's very intriguing to me. So the prologue sets up the whole Oasis, which is this virtual video game type world, where in this near future, 2044, everything happens in this virtual world. Kids go to school there, people get jobs there, life happens mainly in this virtual world, because life outside of this virtual world is kind of crappy. So our main character, Wade Watts, lives in the Stacks in a mobile home with his aunt and her boyfriends and a couple other families. Sorry, that was a loud motorcycle outside. There are food vouchers and no privacy, and it just seems to be very miserable. And this Wade Watts character feels like his life was saved basically by the Oasis. And so the prologue sets up annoying neighbors and their loud vehicles. I don't even know if you're going to be able to hear it, but I can hear it, and it's very distracting. They do this all the time. I don't know why extra mufflers are exciting, but they're annoying to me. Okay. So the prologue sets up James Halliday's will. He's a billionaire in this world of devastation, and a billionaire who is intrigued and collects things and is obsessed with, really, the 80s. And so he sets up this video game within the Oasis where people are able to then go and find the clues and the keys to find his fortune, his inheritance, because he dies and he left a video will setting up this whole game. So a whole bunch of people immediately began searching for these clues and keys, but nothing was found for years. Year after year after year, nobody was finding anything. But then at the end of the prologue, we learn that Wade Watts is the one who discovers the fortune within this virtual reality. So chapter 1 then goes kind of a little bit back where he wants to tell the story of how it really happened, because people keep getting it wrong. So this is where we get a little bit more of the setting and a little bit more of the game and about his life. And we haven't yet gotten to the point where he gets into the Oasis very much, but I really am enjoying it. It's a little bit slow for me, but I think I'm going to enjoy the 80s references that are going to be all throughout this book, because I was a child in the 80s. I was not a teenager, so I don't remember very much, but I was a child and early teen, I guess, in the 80s. So I think I'm going to have a lot of fun reading this book, and I like it. So here's the problem. I liked all 5 of the books that I started today. So I'm going to tell you the order that I would like to read them in, and many of them will probably be on my TBRs for October and November, so you'll be seeing them again. But first of all, I would like to read The Night Circus. So this is moving right to the top of my TBR, and I will continue reading this book probably today even. So The Night Circus is number 1. Second, I feel like this is going to be a little more light and easy to read, so I'm going to read Junebug next. Third, I will probably, I don't know. I'll probably go back to Ready Player One third. I am intrigued and would like to continue this one. Then Love, Anthony, and finally Lost. So that's the order. Let's see if I can hold them up in that order. Woo. So this is the order that I'd like to read them in. And I had a lot of fun doing this tag. I don't know who started it and who created it, but I know that I watched so many people doing it and I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Lisa, for picking out some great books. I know you've read some of them and I am excited to read them as well. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you've done this tag. If you haven't, I challenge you to do it because it's quite a lot of fun. If you need help picking out some books, I would love to help you with that as well. But leave me a note in the comments. I would love to chat with you there, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.